Heading into your final, we're going to take a couple of days or a few days to review some specific problems from each chapter. So let's let this video be all of the review for chapter 2. Number 1, find the domain and the range and then graph the relation. So by definition, this is a relation. The domain are the x values in order, no repeats, and the range are the y values, no in order, don't list the repeats. Use a brace to start. So the lowest x is a -3, then a -2, then a 0, then a 2, and then a 3. End with a brace. That was the x values. Now let's do the y values for the range. The range, the lowest, let's take a look for the lowest. The lowest range is a 1, and then a 3. Notice I'm only writing it once. And then a 5. So we found the domain, we found the range. Now it's time to graph it. Graphing it means to plot the relation, to plot the points. So -3, 5 is left 3 up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's the first point. Left 2 up 3. 0, 1, 2, 3, and 3, 5. Do not connect those. That is the relation. That is the graph of the relation. Remember, the domain are the x values, the range are the y values. And if you ever had a problem that said, is this a function? You would say, yes, this is a function. It passes the vertical line test because the vertical line will only touch once at each spot. Number 2, suppose you have a function f of x equals 3x minus 1. I'll highlight that in red. And g of x is, I'll highlight that in green, absolute value -2x plus 4. Find the following value. So we're going to do, okay, let's start with finding g of 2. So let's do g of 2, and then we'll have to multiply that by 3. So let's do g, oh, g is green. I'll try to color code for you guys. G of 2. So g of 2 would be -2 times 2 plus 4, absolute value. So we're plugging it in. So that would be -4 plus 4, that would be a 0 in absolute value. Okay, so 3 times, remember I just got a 0. It was absolute value of 0, 0. So I had to plug in, so if you want to write out your steps, you had to plug, what did we had to plug? 2 into g of x. And now I'm going to have to multiply that by 3, so that still is just 0. Then I had to multiply that by 3. Okay, now let's change to red. And now I have to subtract whatever f of -1 is. So I have to plug in -1, so it'd be 3 times -1 minus 1, which is -4. So I have to minus what I get. So I got a -4, so I have to minus -4. So 0 minus -4 is +4. So then I had to plug in -1 into f of x. And then I had to finish by subtracting the problem. Okay. Number 3. What makes something a function? So let's say you have a list of numbers, you have a graph. So what you're going to say is every x value has a unique y value. Some kids say like x doesn't repeat. Or, and like that's an okay way of saying it, or you could say it passes a vertical line test. So if you're not sure what that means, please take a look at chapter 2 and look at what makes something a function. But every x has a unique y value, meaning like, you know, if you had maybe 1, 2, and 3, and over here you had 4, 5, you know, 1 can go to 4, 2 can go to 5, and 3 can go to 4, that's fine. But if 1 also points to 5, that's not good. Okay, so every x has to have a unique y value, like +1 can't be paired with 2 y values. Okay, number 4. Write an equation of the line in standard form, so standard form, with the given slope through the given point. Okay, so I'm going to start with point slope form. I really like point slope form. It's easy for me to work with. I'm going to start with point slope form. So that's y minus 3, so y minus y equals m times x minus x, so x, y, and m there. And now I'm going to get it into, I'm going to distribute it through. So y minus 3 equals 1/2 x minus 4 when you distribute. Now I'm going to go ahead and move my 3 to the other side. This is slope-intercept form, just so you all know your vocabs. This is slope-intercept form because it's y equals mx plus b. Now to get it into standard form, I'll change colors. I'll zoom in. Now it's time to get into standard form. So standard form means you need to clear the fractions. So I need to multiply everything by 2 to clear the fractions. So it's going to be 2y equals 1, oops, not 1/2 anymore. It's just going to be 1x minus 2. So I'm multiplying everything by 2 to clear the fractions. This is how you get into standard form. And I need to move my x over. So move x to left. So minus 1x. So it's negative 1x plus 2y equals negative 2. The only other thing you might see is they might change all your signs on you. So they might do positive 1x minus 2y equals positive 2. So those are in standard form. Kind of had to go through all the forms in order to get to standard forms. Just make sure no fractions and x and y are on the left. That came from chapter 2, section 4. Okay, number 6. For direct variation. Oh, direct variation, right away when you read direct variation, your mind should automatically say y equals k times x. Direct variation. Find the value of y when x is negative 0.3. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to write y equals k times x. I'm going to write 2/3 equals k times 0.2. I will divide by 0.2. So ready? I'm going to do calculator. 2/3. 2/3 divided by 0.2. I'm going to change it to a fraction. So 10/3. So I got 10/3 is k. So it says find the constant of variation. There it is. Maybe point at that so you know your vocab. Constant of variation right there. That was a really messy arrow. Sorry, I have to fix that. There. That's the constant of variation. Now I need to find the value of y when x is negative 0.3. So just watch how I solve that. I'm going to do y equals 10/3x because it's y equals kx. I just replaced k with 10/3. Now I'm going to plug in, they want x to be negative 0.3. So 10/3 times negative 0.3. I'll go ahead, I'll grab a calculator. 10/3 times negative 0.3. 10/3 times negative 0.3 and negative 1. So y equals negative 1. So I solved both parts of the problem. Okay, so you had to find the constant, 10/3, and then find the value of y, which we did. Let's do number 7. Describe the transformations of the parent function absolute value of x, then graph it. So this one's the parent. And what's the baby? There it is. This is the new one. Let's talk about all the differences. So the negative in the front. The negative in the front is a reflection. Specifically, it's a reflection around the x-axis, if you want to write that in there. The plus 3 inside is to the left 3. The minus 2 in the back is a movement of down 2. Okay, so those are the transformations. They asked for the transformations. There they are. Now for the graph. So I am going to say I have a vertex. This is an absolute value problem. Absolute value problems are V's. Please write that down. Wherever you want to write that down, write that down. Absolute value problems are V's. The vertex is at -3 and -2. When you guys study this, a lot of people still wrote +3 and +2. In fact, I'm going to write that, or +3 and -2. I'm going to write that. I'm going to put a big X through it because that's what people did wrong. Remember, it's opposite of what outside. and the slope is -1 because there's a -1 in front of your absolute value. So I'm going to go to -3 and -2 and put my dot there. Down 1, down 1, down 1 over, down 1 over, down 1 over. Remember, this is a V-shaped graph, V-shape graph, because it's an absolute value graph. So you're going to go the exact same slope on the other side. Make sure it turns into a V shape. Connect and drag. Connect and drag. And there's no shading on this problem. If there was shading, it would be like less than or greater than. So that's it. So we did the graph and we did the transformations. So they wanted this and the transformations. Now, transformations again. We again have another absolute value, and this is what we are producing from it. So this +7 on the inside is a left 7, and the -2 in the back is a downward shift of 2. Number 9, what is the slope of this linear equation? So we're going to solve for y. That's how I would do it. So that would be, I'm just going to rewrite it. So it's 2x plus 5y equal 8 minus 2x. 5y equal -2x plus 8. Don't make that 6x because the 8 doesn't have an x. Divide everything by 5. Nothing reduces. So they said, what is the slope? This is the slope. So it says, what is the slope? That is the slope. Let me try to keep this kind of like in its own little entity there. So the slope is -2/5. It says, what is the perpendicular slope? So you're going to have to remember this word perpendicular means opposite reciprocal. Okay, so opposite reciprocal means you flip it upside down. The word opposite, well, the word reciprocal means you flip it upside down. And the word reciprocal means you change the sign. Or excuse me, the word opposite means you change the sign. So the perpendicular slope is +5/2. Now let's do the, let me kind of section that off so it's on its own little part here. Okay, now what is the parallel slope? So the word parallel means it's the same slope. So it's going to stay at -2/5. We're comparing it to the original. So perpendicular, +5/2, parallel, -2/5. And that is the end of chapter 2.